All right, today we are going to do letter writing, how to effectively create a letter. Now this doesn't just apply, what we're going to be talking about doesn't just apply in a box to letter writing. What we're going to be doing today is going to apply to how you construct emails, how you professionally correspond with anyone besides close friends or family. Now in order to do this effectively, you're going to need a writing utensil, so a pen or a pencil, and a piece of paper. If you don't want to use a pen and paper method, if you want to take your notes in a Word document, excellent. Please take these notes in a Word document. However, you're watching this on your computer. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to take this screen, you're going to push it over to the left, and you're going to want to open up a Word document on the right. So you're going to want to open up a Word document that you can write in on the right-hand side while still being able to see me on the left. So pause me if you need to. Pause me at any time during this so you can take some notes. Rewind as you need to, but pause now if you need to open a Word document. Label the Word document letter writing. All right. So first things first, what do you think goes into a letter? What belongs in a letter? What should be there? This is the first thing we're going to talk about. What I want you to do is I need you to actually create we're going to do a table, 3 columns, 2 columns, 3 rows. So what that's going to look like, if you're creating this in a Word document, it's going to look something like that if you're creating this in a Word document. And what I want you to do is I want you to label these. So what kind of formatting should you expect to see in a business letter? What kind of content should you expect to see in a business letter? And what should you be aware of? What should you be conscious of as you write? As you write, what kind of things should you keep in mind? So not necessarily about formatting and the content you're using, but what kind of things should you be aware of? For example, you should be aware of spelling. When it comes to spelling, you will be judged on your spelling, especially in a formal business letter. For example, if you were applying for a job, at this school, and you spelled Mr. Lonsberry's name wrong, that's going to be problematic for you getting a job. If you one day own a company, or if you work for a company and you want to get somebody to buy your product, so you send them a letter and asking for their support, asking for them to endorse your product or to support you in the creation of this project. If you have spelling errors, they're much less likely to believe that you are professional, to believe that you know what you're talking about. If you can't even spell things correctly, if you can't spell a person's name correctly or a business correctly, a business name correctly, how are they going to trust that you can create a product properly? You say that you create video games? Well, how am I going to trust that you can make a video game properly and with all the right dynamics and all the right systems that are necessary to create an awesome video game? Can I trust that you can do that when you can't even spell my name right? I wouldn't trust you with my business. Spelling's important. What other things should you be aware of? What other things should you be aware of as you write? As far as content goes, if you are writing a letter to someone, or better yet, if you are receiving a letter from someone, if you are receiving a letter, someone is, again, asking you about a business or asking to join in some business that you're doing or asking you to buy something. If someone sends you an email asking you to buy their product, what things should be in there? What kind of content should be there? What do you want in the actual content of the letter? Ask yourself, what do you actually want in the content? And I mean any kind of content. I mean the most basic. The recipient's name. The recipient's name should show up somewhere. The person receiving the letter, their name should be inside the letter. And if the recipient's name is going to be there, someone else's should be there as well. The sender. Both the recipient and the sender should both be there. Formatting. Formatting, there are some basic things that you should already know about formatting. This one is going to be where we're going to spend most of our time. But before I start getting into formatting, fill it in as you feel able. What you know about letters. What do you know about the formatting of a letter already? Most of you won't know much about how to format a proper business letter. However, content and what I should be aware of, these things you can do. These things you should be able to do without my assistance. So right now, I would like you to pause, and I'd like you to actually complete this table as best as you can. Complete, content, and what to be aware of. Do that now. Sorry. Hopefully you did that. Let's start with what to be aware of. Now, we already had spelling. Hand in hand with spelling, hopefully you have grammar. Now, grammar covers a whole lot of stuff. So maybe you didn't say grammar, but you said punctuation. Again, it's hard to trust somebody. A business letter should be professional. And it's hard to trust somebody and trust that they know what they're talking about when they don't know how to properly capitalize. Capitalization should also be here. But when they can't capitalize names properly, or they don't know how to properly use periods or commas, right? Or properly use apostrophes. If you don't know how to use punctuation, it makes the receiver of your letter trust you less as an authority. So maybe you're just asking for something. Maybe you're sending a letter to, here's a great example. Because you're in grade 9, some of you will be doing this. Some of you will be sending letters to the schools you wish to apply to. Some of you, especially taking AP or IB, you'll be sending letters to certain schools that you wish to apply for. Now, if in your letter you improperly punctuate, you spell things incorrectly, they don't trust that you have the skills necessary to do the other things required of you. If you can't get a simple letter correct, what's to say that you're not going to get more things incorrect? What's to say that you're not going to make further errors in their school? In a letter, you have the time and the energy, hopefully, to make these editing corrections, to make these corrections. And you need to. You absolutely need to. You need to make sure your grammar, your punctuation, your spelling. I'm going to put on here capitalization. Though really at grade 9, this shouldn't be a problem. But capitalization is important. What other things do you have on there? We have spelling, we have grammar. What other things should you be aware of? You should be aware of your voice, your tone. What I mean by that is that you should sound professional. You should sound professional. You should have the voice of the letter shouldn't be the same voice you use when speaking to a friend or sending an email to your mother. All right? You're sending it to a business letter is sent to a business. So it should be appropriate. When it comes to content, besides the names of you and your recipient, what you want to put on there, hopefully you put these things down. Date. The date should be on there, somewhere, probably close to the top. What else should we have there? Address. Some of you may have put address. Whose address? Just theirs? Yours as well? Yours and the recipient's should both be on there. Both addresses. What else is going to be on there? I don't know what you wrote down because I'm not there. But what I do know is that in the end, what you want for content is you want the recipient to know 3 main things. Who you are. Tell them who you are. And I don't just mean that you're going to just say, my name is Jason Pawlak. If I were going to tell someone, I would say, my name is Jason Pawlak, currently working at the Calgary Science School. That's who I am. I've given you some information about myself.